Okay, welcome to this video. This is a little video that is going to explain how to map your encoders on your controller to these knobs down here, so that when you move them on your controller, these knobs will move and in fact change the sounds. I'm in standalone mode first. I'm going to do this option first, and then I will go to the Studio One option too. So I've selected this instrument here, and I'll just pick a preset in this, say now I've already mapped some controllers to some controls, and I just want to show you what happens when, for example, if I move encoder 1, you'll see that this is moving here. If I move encoder 2, this is moving, and so on. Now, I might not want this, and I'm going to begin by showing you how to remove those mappings and reset the mappings. Let's say I want those 4 encoders to go onto these controls here. So what we do is we come up to this gear up here and we click on this and we open MIDI. Here is a list of where things are mapped. And the first thing I'm going to do is just click on Learn. And the moment you do that, you'll see that the 4 controls, when they're red, it means they've already been assigned. When they're purple, they haven't been assigned. Now in standalone mode, all you've got to do is just right click these one at a time and they go purple. And notice they remain in the list here, but they've sort of been disconnected. Now while I'm here in this mode, in the purple learn mode, if I move my encoders, oh well, that one's moving there, but we'll click on this one and to make sure. Now, I'm trying to disconnect this master here, for example, and it's not going back to purple. So here is another option that you can do. You click on master here, come up to here, right click this and click delete, and that will get it back to purple. So you've got to get into this state where you've got everything purple here. So now I'm just going to click on this knob here and notice that it's popped up there, and I'm going to move my first encoder and it turns red, and as you can see it's working. I'm going to click on this control, I'm going to move my second encoder, it's locked and moving. I'm going to click on this, I'm going to click my third encoder here. Notice they're appearing over here as well. And I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to move my fourth encoder like this. So when all that's done, you can come up here and click on Learn again. And now, as you can see, these controls are all locked. I'm going to play this now and you'll see that whatever I move will work. These are all working. Movement, I think, is sort of a vibrato thing. So that's all working. So what we can do, we can come up to this MIDI configuration window and click it here, come over here, and we'll save this as, and we'll just call it Jeff's encoder set 4, say, for example, which means I'm only using 4. Click on save, and you'll notice that it appears in this list now down here. So that's all good. So I'm going to close Analog Lab now, and I'm going to boot up Studio One. Okay, so now I've booted up Studio One, and here's the track here that I'm using. And here's my controller, and I've come in here and I've got Analog Lab here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this ARP as well, and I'll go to that sound as well, just to be there. Now all you've got to do here is simply open this gear again, come over to MIDI, come to MIDI configuration, and if you have a look here, as you can see, it's actually still got that preset there. If I went to empty, for example, nothing's working. None of these controllers are working. And if I clicked on learn, you'll see that everything's purple there. And you can use that empty configuration as well to actually start as a starting point. I'm going to select Jeff encoder set 4, and as you can see, it just pulls up the very setup that I created. Come back up here, click on learn. You'll see that what I'm doing here is these encoders are all working from my controller. I'm actually going to switch this back over here to what I call a video start preset. And this particular preset, I've got these 4 encoders mapped to here. I'm just moving my encoders now, and I don't want these. So this is a situation that you could find yourself in where you've actually got linking here and you don't actually want it. The first thing I should mention too, you don't need any of this business up here. I've mentioned this in my post. You don't use control link, you don't touch any of this. It's totally unnecessary. Analog Lab 5 receives the signal coming in here, and the MIDI goes directly to here. We're in Studio 1 now. So we've clicked on this gear once again here. Come over to MIDI. We click on Learn. Now notice that these 4 controls are mapped. Now, normally in standalone mode, we right-click these, and this is working actually for some reason, but sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't work, then you have to... I noticed last time that I attempted this, it didn't work. You couldn't reset them back to purple. In this mode, if this does happen, all you have to do is click on Learn again, click on this one, and notice up here, it's saying chorus. Right-click, click Delete. Click on this one. Notice over here, phaser mix. Click on that. Delete. Same as this. Delay. Delete. Now, for some reason today, it's deciding to respond. But the other day it didn't. I couldn't get it to work at all. So once again, the idea is to get this back to all purple. If they're not purple, for example, and you've got this situation, you can always come up here and select empty, and you'll get everything back to purple. We're in Learn. Click on this first control here. Notice this pops up on the list. I'm going to move my first encoder. It takes control and it's working. You can test it. You can stay in Learn. Click on this one. Notice it's appeared here on the list. Move the encoder. Take control of it. Click on that. Notice it's over here on the list. Move your third encoder. Now I am assuming that your controller keyboard is sending these things. Mine starts on number 75 as the CCs and goes up from there, but you can assign that. But I assume if you're getting these things working in standalone mode, then your controller is sending the right thing. Click on the fourth one here. Move the encoder. I could click on all of them. I'm going to assign all of them now. Look at this. 7, 8. Once we're done here, click on Learn. test them all. They're all working. Same with this. Extra volume, delay. So once you've got something working, you can come up here, click on this, save the configuration as a Jeff 8 set, save. It's done. Now what I've noticed with this though, which is interesting, is it doesn't really matter what you pick here. I'll just pick emulator 2 for example, and we'll pick some sort of sound in here maybe. Click this. Notice all my encoders are working. So that's working. Come back home. Let's go to something else. DX7. Pick a sound here, for example. Say addictive piano. Notice how the same controls are set. Everything's working. Come back home. It seems this configuration that I've created seems to affect everything. Let's try this one. I haven't. Here we go. Everything's working, see? So it seems to me that when we're here, this particular preset that I've created seems to affect everything. It's permanent. So really all you have to do is map 8 or 9 of your controller encoders or faders to these things. Now notice too, you can come up here and select, this should be on generic 9 knobs. You can select your 9 knobs and faders as well. All these things come into play as well, and you can assign those too, exactly the same. I'll just move a fader now, and I'll click on this, and there you go. I've just assigned it to the first of my faders. So I'm now doing this. I'm just assigning all these one by one because the M-Audio 61 has got 9 faders, which is rather convenient. It matches this quite nicely. Now that one isn't lit up, so it won't let me assign anything. And as I've mentioned, if you're selecting a synth that you don't own, you might get some of these things that are not assignable. You can't do anything about it unless you bought the synth. But of course, if you do select a synth that you do own, it's much better. I've got OBXA, for example. If I click on this, everything's available. See that? These haven't been assigned though, so I can just click on this and lock it in. So now I've got control over everything. But generally, I don't think you necessarily need 18 controls here. You can usually get away with this many. So just click on Learn to get back to normal, and then we'll all go here. And so on. I hope that helps. Let me know how you go.